On a cold and dreary night in Los Angeles, the city seemed to sigh under the weight of rain-soaked clouds. Shaquille O'Neal, a towering figure of both fame and compassion, stopped at a modest gas station nestled along a quiet street. As the raindrops drummed lightly on the roof of his sleek black SUV, he noticed a poignant scene unfolding under the dim glow of the station's neon lights. A young woman, visibly pregnant, worked tirelessly, her frail figure battling the harsh elements and the burdens of life. This woman, Emily Carter, was a symbol of quiet resilience. 7 months into her pregnancy, she pushed through the cold night with a determination that belied her exhaustion. Her worn jacket barely shielded her from the chill, and her hands, reddened by the biting cold, moved deftly as she wiped windshields, checked oil, and carried heavy crates. The gas station, with its flickering lights and the rhythmic sound of rain, was her stage, and every movement she made told a story of struggle and sacrifice. Emily's young daughter, Sophia, sat nearby under a small awning, bundled in an oversized sweater, her tiny hands gripping a pencil as she drew in a tattered notebook. The contrast between mother and daughter was stark. Emily carried the weight of their survival on her shoulders, while Sophia clung to the innocence of childhood, her imagination a refuge from the harshness around her. Shaquille stepped out of his vehicle, his imposing frame and recognizable features immediately drawing attention. Yet, his focus remained fixed on Emily and Sophia. He watched as Emily bent over to clean a car's windshield, the effort evident in every motion. Her face, though lined with exhaustion, radiated a quiet dignity. Sophia, on the other hand, seemed lost in her own world, sketching a scene that caught Shaquille's attention. He approached quietly, his curiosity piqued by the young girl's intense concentration. As he neared, he saw the sketch more clearly. A warm, inviting kitchen with steam rising from pots and chairs arranged around a table. Above the counter was a signboard, unfinished, its blank space hinting at a dream yet to be named. Shaquille knelt slightly, his large hands resting on his knees, and asked gently, "What are you drawing?" Sophia looked up, her wide eyes reflecting both surprise and curiosity. She hesitated, clutching her pencil tightly, before replying softly, "I'm drawing a place I want to go." Intrigued, Shaquille pressed further. "And where is that?" Sophia's lips curved into a faint smile. "It's a place where my mom can cook, like Grandma used to." Her words carried a mix of longing and hope that struck a chord in Shaquille's heart. He glanced at Emily, who was now making her way toward them, her expression a blend of caution and weariness. She had noticed the interaction but was unsure of its intent. Life had taught her to be guarded, even in the face of kindness. Emily's story was one of heartbreak and perseverance. Abandoned by her husband, Mark, after revealing her second pregnancy, she was left to fend for herself and Sophia. The debts he left behind were a constant reminder of her struggles, and every dollar she earned was a lifeline, keeping their fragile existence from collapsing entirely. Despite the pain and fatigue etched on her face, she maintained a determined front, refusing to let her hardships define her. Shaquille turned his attention back to Sophia's drawing. "Did your grandma cook really well?" he asked, hoping to learn more about the little girl's dream. Sophia's eyes lit up as she nodded. "She made the best lasagna. Mom knows how to make it too, but she doesn't cook much anymore because she's always working." Her innocent words painted a vivid picture of the sacrifices Emily had made. Shaquille's gaze shifted to Emily, who had reached them by now. She stood tall despite her obvious exhaustion, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted her jacket. There was a moment of silence as their eyes met, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Shaquille could see the strength and vulnerability in Emily's expression, and he knew he couldn't walk away without helping. "You have a very talented daughter," Shaquille said warmly, breaking the silence. Emily managed a small smile, her defenses softening slightly. "She's all I have," she replied, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. Shaquille's mind raced as he considered what he could do to make a difference. This wasn't just about a kind gesture, it was about recognizing the resilience and hope that Emily and Sophia embodied. He crouched down again to Sophia's level. "What's the name of the place you're drawing?" he asked, pointing to the blank signboard in her sketch. Sophia hesitated before shrugging. "I don't know yet. Mom says we can't have a place like that." Her voice was soft, but the weight of her words hung in the air. Shaquille straightened, his resolve solidifying. "Sometimes," he said, his voice filled with conviction. "We need a little help to make our dreams come true." Emily looked at him, her eyes narrowing slightly in confusion, but there was also a flicker of hope. That night, Shaquille took action. He quietly approached the gas station manager and discreetly inquired about Emily's situation. Learning of her struggles, he decided to step in. Returning to Emily, he extended an offer that left her speechless. "I'd like to help," he said simply. "Not just tonight, but to give you and Sophia a fresh start." Emily's eyes widened in disbelief, her hand instinctively reaching for Sophia's shoulder as if to anchor herself in reality. "Why?" she managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. Shaquille smiled gently. "Because I believe in paying it forward. And because everyone deserves a chance to chase their dreams." Over the weeks that followed, Shaquille's generosity transformed Emily and Sophia's lives. He ensured they had a stable home, covered Sophia's school fees, and even helped Emily pursue her passion for cooking. With his support, Emily opened a small restaurant, the sign above its door proudly bearing the name Sophia had finally chosen, Grandma's Kitchen. Though the night had started with rain and struggle, it became a story of hope and renewal, a testament to the power of kindness and the unyielding spirit of a mother and daughter. The daughter hesitated, her small hands clutching the edges of her drawing as though it were a shield against the world. She seemed to weigh her words, her gaze darting between the man and her mother. Vulnerability was not something she felt comfortable exposing, even in the presence of a stranger. "Sophia, don't bother the gentleman," Emily's voice interjected softly, though her tone carried a firm undertone. She reached for her daughter's hand, guiding her to stand. A smile, polite yet strained, spread across Emily's face. It was a practiced expression, a mask that obscured the exhaustion etched deep into her features, a weariness that clung to her like an unwelcome shadow. "Oh no, it's all right," Shaquille responded quickly, his voice carrying a calm reassurance. His demeanor was unthreatening, his tone inviting. "She's not bothering me at all. In fact, she was just showing me her drawing." He gestured toward the colorful artwork clutched in Sophia's small hands. His eyes, warm and curious, shifted back to Emily as though seeking her permission to continue the interaction. Emily hesitated, her eyes flickering between her daughter and Shaquille, uncertainty clouding her expression. "She just likes to doodle," Emily said, her words quick and dismissive. It was an attempt to cut the conversation short, to retreat into the safety of familiar silence. Yet Shaquille's gaze lingered, steady and gentle, making it difficult for Emily to retreat entirely. There was no judgment in his eyes, only an earnest interest that seemed to disarm her defenses. Sensing her unease, Shaquille shifted his approach, his voice softening further. "It's a chilly evening," he remarked, steering the conversation in a different direction. "Sophia mentioned she likes lasagna. You must be quite the cook." The comment brought a faint smile to Emily's lips, one that carried both warmth and sadness. "I used to love cooking," she admitted, her voice tinged with a nostalgic longing. "A long time ago. Now, I just don't have the time for things like that anymore." "Because of work?" Shaquille asked, his question devoid of any intrusion, only curiosity. Emily hesitated once more before nodding. Her sigh was almost imperceptible, but it carried the weight of years of unspoken struggles. "Yes," she said, her voice quiet. "During the day, I clean offices. In the evenings, I work here. It's all I can do to make enough to cover the rent and take care of Sophia. We don't have much time for anything else." Her response was succinct, but it revealed a depth of endurance born from necessity. Shaquille could see that she wasn't merely grappling with financial difficulties. There was an emotional weight, a silent battle she fought daily, one that went unnoticed by the world around her. Despite her petite and weary frame, there was an undeniable strength within her, a resilience that couldn't be ignored. As Emily bent to pick up a cleaning rag, Shaquille's eyes followed her movements. Her careful gestures betrayed a discomfort she tried to mask, her pregnancy adding another layer of challenge to an already burdensome existence. The cold rain fell steadily, the chill seeping through her thin jacket. The gas station, with its fluorescent lighting and metallic hum, was a stark and inhospitable place. It was no environment for a pregnant woman, let alone a child like Sophia. The injustice of it all weighed heavily on Shaquille. There was no single villain in their story, no obvious antagonist to blame. Instead, it was the accumulation of invisible forces: poverty, abandonment, an unrelenting social system that had cornered Emily and Sophia, leaving them with few options. He felt a stirring of frustration, not at Emily but at the circumstances that had brought her to this point. So, where's your husband? Shaquille asked gently, his tone cautious as he probed further into her story. Emily froze, her posture stiffening as though bracing herself. Her eyes avoided his, focusing instead on the rag in her hands. He left, she said simply, the words falling with a quiet finality. There was no elaboration, no bitterness, only a matter-of-fact acknowledgement of an absence that loomed over her life. Sophia, standing quietly beside her mother, stared intently at her drawing, as if trying to shut out the painful reality of those words. Shaquille crouched to Sophia's level, his large hand resting gently on her small shoulder. "You've got an amazing mom," he said firmly. His words, though simple, carried a weight of sincerity. Emily returned to her work, her figure moving steadily between the cars in the lot. Shaquille watched her, the rain matting her hair against her face, her shoulders sagging under the weight of exhaustion. His gaze shifted to Sophia, still sitting under the awning, her eyes reflecting a quiet sadness far too profound for someone her age. In Shaquille's mind, a plan began to take shape. Tonight had shown him enough to know he couldn't simply walk away. Emily and Sophia needed more than words of encouragement. They needed a lifeline, a spark of hope to reignite a future they seemed on the verge of giving up on. As Emily worked, she suddenly broke the silence. "We can't keep living like this," she murmured, her voice barely audible over the rain. She didn't look at Shaquille, her eyes fixed on the road ahead. Her words seemed more a confession to herself than a statement meant for him. Shaquille stepped closer, careful to maintain a respectful distance. "Do you want to talk about it?" he asked gently. "Sometimes sharing lightens the load." Emily hesitated, her hand resting on her lower back in an attempt to soothe the ache spreading there. "Maybe I do need someone to listen," she admitted. "Even if just this once." Her voice was steady, but it carried a fragility, as though speaking louder might shatter the tenuous calm she clung to. "We used to have a family," Emily began, her voice catching slightly as she spoke. "Mark, my husband, and I had dreams. We wanted to build a better life. We even talked about opening a little restaurant, where I could cook the dishes I love, just like my grandmother used to." She paused, her grip tightening on the rag. But when Sophia was born, everything changed. Dreams were pushed aside, replaced by bills, rent, and responsibilities. Mark couldn't handle the pressure. "When I got pregnant again, he left. Said he couldn't afford to feed another mouth. And just like that, he was gone." Shaquille remained silent, absorbing her words. Mark's departure wasn't just an act of abandonment. It was a betrayal that had left Emily and her children to navigate a harsh reality alone. "And then what?" Shaquille asked gently, his eyes never leaving her face. Emily let out a hollow laugh, a sound devoid of humor. "I didn't have time to cry or wallow," she said. "I started doing any job I could find. Cleaning offices by day, working here at night. As long as I can pay the rent and keep Sophia in school, I'll do whatever it takes." Her voice faltered, but her eyes glinted with an unyielding resilience. "I can't give Sophia a luxurious life or fancy toys. But I can give her safety, a roof over her head. That's all I can offer." Shaquille could feel the weight of her words, the immense burden she carried. Her strength wasn't a choice, it was a necessity, born out of circumstances beyond her control. Yet even as she spoke of resilience, there was a trace of doubt in her voice. "Sometimes I wonder," Emily continued, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Am I doing enough? Is everything I'm doing actually giving Sophia the life she deserves? Or will she grow up and see a mother who fought her whole life but never really lived?" Shaquille frowned, the depth of her inner conflict striking a chord within him. He understood that Emily wasn't just battling external challenges. She was wrestling with guilt, self-doubt, and the fear of failing her daughter. Finally, Emily turned to him, her eyes reflecting a hint of vulnerability. "I'm sorry," she said. "I might have said too much. I don't even know why I'm telling all this to a stranger." "Don't apologize," Shaquille replied firmly. "You have nothing to be sorry for. I see a strong and incredible mother in you. And I believe Sophia sees that too." Emily offered a faint smile, though the sadness in her expression lingered. She returned to her work, but in Shaquille's heart, her story had ignited something deeper. He couldn't change Emily's past or erase the pain she'd endured. But he could help shape a brighter future for her and Sophia, one step at a time. Emily carried on with her usual routine, her hands trembling slightly from the accumulated fatigue. The sun was rising, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, but Emily's thoughts were elsewhere, lingering on the possibilities the cooking class had awakened in her. As she walked back to her small apartment, her mind wandered to Sophia, who would undoubtedly wake up soon, eager to ask what new recipe her mother had learned. When Emily opened the door, she found Sophia already awake, sitting on the floor with her sketchbook. The sight of her daughter's focused expression and the vibrant drawings spread across the floor brought a small smile to Emily's face. "Good morning, sweetheart," she said, setting down her bag. Sophia looked up with bright eyes. "Did you make anything new in class, Mama?" Emily crouched beside her daughter, brushing a strand of hair out of Sophia's face. "I did. We made lasagna, just like the one I used to dream of making. Maybe, one day, I'll make it for you properly." Sophia giggled, wrapping her arms around Emily. "I can't wait." As Emily hugged her daughter tightly, she thought of Shaquille. His support had been a turning point, but she still struggled to accept help fully. The cooking class had reignited a passion within her, but she wondered if she could sustain it. Bills continued to pile up, and her two jobs left her little time to breathe. Yet, every moment in the kitchen felt like a step closer to reclaiming a piece of herself that she thought had been lost forever. Later that day, while Sophia was at school, Emily received a call from Shaquille. His deep, reassuring voice came through the line. "How's the class going?" he asked. Emily hesitated before replying. "It's going well, I think. But it's hard to balance everything. Sometimes, I feel like I'm chasing something I can't quite reach." Shaquille paused, then said, "I've been thinking. What if I helped you set up a small catering business? Just something to get you started. I know people who would support it, and you wouldn't have to leave your jobs immediately. You could transition when you're ready." Emily's heart raced at the idea. "A catering business?" she echoed, her voice filled with both disbelief and curiosity. "I don't know anything about running a business, Shaquille. And what if it fails?" "You don't have to know everything right now," Shaquille said firmly. "I'll help you with the logistics, and you'll do what you do best, cook. We'll take it one step at a time. But only if you're ready." Emily sat down, clutching the phone tightly. The thought of starting something new, something entirely her own, was terrifying. But the vision of creating meals that told her story, meals that could provide for Sophia, gave her a glimmer of hope. "Let me think about it," she finally said. Shaquille didn't press her. "Take all the time you need. Just remember, you're capable of more than you know." That evening, Emily shared the conversation with Sophia. "What do you think, sweetie? Should we try it?" Sophia's eyes lit up. "Yes. You're the best cook, Mama. Everyone would love your food." Her daughter's unwavering faith in her was enough to push Emily over the edge. The next day, she called Shaquille back. "I'm in," she said, her voice steady with determination. True to his word, Shaquille helped Emily every step of the way. They worked late into the nights planning menus, sourcing affordable ingredients, and finding a small kitchen space. Shaquille's friend offered to lend her the space rent-free for the first 3 months, giving her the breathing room she needed to get started. Emily's coworkers at the gas station, some of whom had mocked her before, began to see her in a new light. Her persistence was inspiring, even to them. As weeks turned into months, Emily's catering business slowly gained traction. Her first orders were small, simple dishes for family gatherings and local events. But word spread quickly. People raved about her food, calling it comfort on a plate and a taste of home. Each compliment fueled her determination, and she poured every ounce of love and care into her dishes. Sophia became her biggest cheerleader, helping to package meals and even designing a small logo for the business with her new colored pencils. They called it Sophia's Table, a name that symbolized everything Emily was fighting for, a future filled with possibility and joy. One day, as Emily prepared an order in the kitchen, she received a call from a local event planner. They wanted her to cater a large charity gala, a chance to showcase her food to influential guests. Emily's hands trembled as she accepted the offer. It was the biggest opportunity she had ever received, and she was determined to make it perfect. On the night of the gala, Shaquille stood by her side, offering words of encouragement as she presented her dishes to the attendees. The event was a resounding success, and Emily received numerous inquiries about future catering opportunities. By the end of the night, she felt a sense of accomplishment she hadn't experienced in years. As Emily and Sophia walked home from the event, hand in hand, Emily looked down at her daughter and smiled. "Thank you for believing in me, sweetheart," she said. Sophia squeezed her hand tightly. "You did it, Mama. I always knew you could." The journey had been far from easy, and Emily knew there would still be challenges ahead. But for the first time in a long time, she felt a sense of control over her life. She had found her voice, her passion, and her strength, not just for herself, but for Sophia too. And as they walked into their small apartment that night, Emily knew that they were no longer defined by their struggles. They were defined by their resilience and the love they shared, which no hardship could ever take away. Emily had just finished the final session of her cooking class, and though her future remained uncertain, she felt she was inching closer to a dream she had long buried. As she and Sophia prepared to head back to their modest rented room, the familiar sound of Shaquille's SUV pulling up caught their attention. His warm smile greeted them as he motioned for them to get in. "Where are we going?" Emily asked, her tone cautious yet tinged with curiosity. Shaquille's response was calm but cryptic, his tone carrying an air of anticipation. "Trust me, today is special." The SUV weaved through the busy streets of Los Angeles. Emily's mind raced with possibilities, but she couldn't decipher Shaquille's intentions. Finally, they stopped in front of a small shop nestled at the corner of a bustling street. Its modest appearance was illuminated by a brand new sign hanging above the door, "Carter's Kitchen," elegantly engraved in bold letters. Emily froze, her eyes wide with disbelief. She stared at the sign, then at Shaquille. What is this?" she stammered, her voice trembling as if afraid the scene before her would vanish if she blinked. Shaquille stepped forward and pulled a key from his pocket. Placing it in her hand, he said with quiet resolve, "This is yours." The key felt heavy in Emily's palm, heavier than anything she had held before. "I don't understand. I can't accept this. It's too much." Shaquille interrupted gently but firmly. "Emily, this isn't charity. This is an investment in you, in your talent, your passion, and what you bring to the community. Carter's Kitchen isn't just a restaurant, it's an opportunity for you to build the life you and Sophia deserve." Sophia, standing beside her mother, squealed in delight. "Mom, it's our restaurant. We have a restaurant." Emily dropped to her knees, overwhelmed, tears streaming down her face. She pulled Sophia into her arms, clutching the child as if grounding herself in reality. "This isn't a dream, is it?" Sophia's little hands cupped her mother's face. "No, Mom, it's real. You did it." Emily looked back at Shaquille, her voice breaking under the weight of gratitude and disbelief. I don't know what to say. Thank you for everything." Shaquille smiled warmly. "You don't have to say anything. Just promise me one thing. Don't stop believing in yourself." As much as joy filled the air, doubts lingered in Emily's heart. "I've never run a restaurant before," she admitted. "I don't even know where to start. What if I fail?" Shaquille placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You won't do this alone. I've arranged for people to help you get started, a small team to handle the basics while you find your footing. And remember, the community will rally around you. You're not just opening a restaurant, you're creating a space where people feel at home." Shaquille unlocked the door and gestured for them to step inside. The space was small but inviting, with neatly arranged wooden tables, a modern kitchen at the back, and a whiteboard on the wall with the words, "Write your own story." Sophia dashed around the room, her excitement palpable. "Mom's going to make the best food ever," she declared. "Your lasagna will be famous." Emily stood still, her fingers brushing over the edge of a table as if to confirm its solidity. The room radiated potential. She inhaled deeply, as though drawing strength from the walls themselves. Shaquille broke the silence. "Now, let's get to work. I believe in you." The next days brought challenges Emily had never anticipated. The restaurant's opening was modest. Foot traffic was sparse, and the small trickle of customers barely made a dent in the overhead costs. Still, Emily greeted each visitor with warmth, pouring her heart into every dish. Her first regulars were the curious neighbors, some offering kind words, others skeptical. "Another restaurant in this area," one man muttered. "We'll see if it lasts." Despite the uphill battle, Emily refused to give up. The lasagna, crafted from her grandmother's treasured recipe, became her signature dish. She added subtle modern touches while preserving the nostalgic flavors of her childhood, hoping it would resonate with others. Sophia became her unwavering cheerleader, often sitting at a small corner table with her colored pencils, drawing vibrant pictures of her mother's creations. "Don't worry, Mom," she'd say. "People will come. They just don't know how good your food is yet." Shaquille continued to lend his support. He shared stories about the restaurant's journey on social media, showcasing Emily's resilience and passion. His posts garnered attention, drawing in patrons curious to experience the food, made with heart. Slowly but surely, Carter's Kitchen began to build a reputation. Word spread about Emily's lasagna, her soups, and the warm, inviting atmosphere she had created. Families began stopping by, construction workers made it their go-to lunch spot, and elderly neighbors found comfort in her dishes that reminded them of home-cooked meals from their past. Each day brought new challenges, but also new victories. Emily worked tirelessly, balancing the restaurant, her role as a mother, and the weight of her dreams. When exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her, Sophia's bright eyes and Shaquille's steadfast encouragement kept her moving forward. One evening, after closing, Emily sat at a table with Sophia. They flipped through the sketchbook filled with Sophia's colorful drawings, scenes of happy customers, plates of food, and a smiling Emily behind the counter. Emily's heart swelled with a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in years. This wasn't just a restaurant anymore. It was a symbol of her strength, her perseverance, and the love that had carried her through the darkest days. Emily looked at Sophia's drawing, a vibrant depiction of Carter's Kitchen bustling with smiling customers. The details were touching. Plates of steaming lasagna, cheerful faces, and a tiny figure labeled, "Mom," standing behind the counter. Sophia beamed as she explained each part of her artwork, her small hands gesturing animatedly. "See, Mom, everyone loves your food. This is your dream," Sophia said with the confidence only a child could exude. Emily smiled, brushing a strand of hair away from her daughter's face. "It's our dream, sweetheart. You're as much a part of this as I am." Sophia grinned and threw her arms around Emily's neck. Moments like these reminded Emily why she had worked so hard, why she had faced her fears, and why she refused to give up. The following weeks brought their fair share of hurdles and triumphs. Emily quickly learned that running a restaurant wasn't just about cooking. It was about connecting with people, understanding their needs, and building a sense of community. She started waking up earlier each day, heading to the market to personally select the freshest ingredients. Farmers and vendors began to recognize her, offering tips and even a few discounts when they saw the determination in her eyes. Back at Carter's Kitchen, Emily poured her creativity into the menu. She introduced new dishes inspired by her life's journey: a hearty stew named Resilience Pot, delicate desserts called Sophia's Sweet Dreams, and, of course, variations of her signature lasagna. Each item was carefully crafted, carrying a little piece of her heart and a story she wanted to share. Word began to spread about the small corner restaurant with the big heart. Customers who had initially walked past without a second glance now found themselves intrigued by the warm reviews and stories circulating in the neighborhood. "Food that feels like a hug," one customer had described in an online review. A local journalist visited one afternoon, intrigued by the buzz surrounding Carter's Kitchen. She sat at one of the wooden tables, her notebook and pen ready, and ordered a plate of Emily's famous lasagna. As she ate, she asked Emily questions about her journey, her struggles, and the inspiration behind the restaurant. Emily hesitated at first, her natural shyness holding her back. But as she spoke, she felt the weight of her story lift, replaced by a newfound sense of pride. The journalist left with a promise to share Emily's journey in the local paper. Days later, Emily's story appeared in print, accompanied by photos of her, Sophia, and the cozy interior of Carter's Kitchen. The headline read, "From Struggles to Success, a Chef's Journey to Build a Community One Dish at a Time." The article brought an influx of customers. Families, food enthusiasts, and even people from neighboring towns visited to experience the food and the story behind it. Regulars started forming. A group of high school teachers who loved the lasagna, an elderly couple who came for coffee and pie every morning, and a group of college students who frequented the restaurant during their late-night study sessions. Sophia continued to be a bright light in the restaurant, her presence drawing smiles from everyone. She became known for her little art gallery in one corner of the restaurant, where she displayed her colorful drawings. Customers often stopped to admire her work, and some even offered to buy her drawings, much to Sophia's delight. But not every day was easy. There were moments when the kitchen felt too chaotic, when the orders piled up faster than Emily could handle, and when exhaustion threatened to take over. On such days, Emily reminded herself of the journey that had brought her here and the countless obstacles she had already overcome. One evening, as Emily was closing up, a man entered the restaurant carrying a small package. He introduced himself as the son of the elderly woman who had once complimented Emily's lasagna. "My mother recently passed," he began, his voice heavy with emotion. "Before she went, she told me to thank you for reminding her of home. She said your food brought her peace in her final days." Emily felt her throat tighten with emotion. She accepted the package, which contained a handwritten note from the woman and a small framed photograph of her from her younger days. "She wanted you to have this," the man said before leaving. Emily held the photo close to her heart, tears streaming down her face. In that moment, she understood the profound impact of what she was doing. It wasn't just about food, it was about creating a space where people felt seen, loved, and cared for. Months passed, and Carter's Kitchen continued to grow, not just as a restaurant but as a beacon of hope in the community. Emily began hosting events, a free meal night for struggling families, cooking classes for kids, and storytelling evenings where customers shared their own journeys over bowls of hearty stew. One day, a young woman walked into the restaurant, her face pale and her clothes worn. She reminded Emily of herself in the not-so-distant past. The woman hesitated at the door, but Emily approached her with a warm smile. "Come in," she said gently, guiding her to a table. The woman looked around, her eyes taking in the warmth of the space and the laughter of the customers. "I don't have much money," she said quietly. Emily placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Everyone is welcome here," she replied. The woman ate her meal slowly, savoring every bite. Before leaving, she turned to Emily and said, "Thank you. I needed this more than you know." Emily watched her leave, a lump forming in her throat. She thought of Shaquille's words, "Kindness is a circle." She understood now that Carter's Kitchen was more than her dream. It was a place where she could pass on the kindness she had received, creating new circles of hope and resilience. As the days turned into weeks, Emily's dream continued to flourish. Sophia grew up within the walls of the restaurant, her laughter and drawings becoming an integral part of its charm. Emily no longer doubted herself or her ability to succeed. She had faced her fears, embraced her challenges, and found her strength. And so, with every dish served, every smile exchanged, and every story shared, Carter's Kitchen became a testament to the power of resilience, the beauty of community, and the magic of daring to dream again. In the picture was Carter's Kitchen, illuminated with soft, warm lights, bustling with cheerful chatter and filled with the hum of happy patrons enjoying their meals. Each table bore a story, a connection woven by the restaurant's charm. At the center of it all was Emily, her hands busy but her heart even busier, contemplating the journey that had brought her here. "Do you think I can really do it, Sophia?" she asked her daughter, her voice carrying a quiet mix of hope and vulnerability. "You can do it, Mommy," Sophia answered instantly, her small voice ringing with conviction and pride. "Because you're my mom." Emily smiled, a tender expression that carried the weight of countless struggles and victories. Her eyes shimmered with resolve. Though Shaquille would no longer be a daily presence, she knew he had left her with something far greater than advice or assistance, a deep and unshakable belief in herself. As Emily watched the world outside Carter's Kitchen through the large glass windows, she felt a surge of renewed energy within her. The restaurant had transformed from a personal dream into something larger, something meaningful to the community. It was no longer just her story, it was the story of everyone who had stepped inside and found a sense of belonging. Days passed, and Emily's vision for the restaurant continued to evolve. The cozy space wasn't merely a place to eat, it was a space where kindness thrived and connections blossomed. Her determination to make a difference grew with every dish she prepared. Soon, Carter's kitchen became known for more than its comforting flavors. It became a symbol of resilience, warmth, and the power of sharing. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an amber glow over the streets, the bell above the restaurant door jingled softly. Emily turned to see a middle-aged woman stepping inside. Her face carried an expression of quiet desperation, and her hesitant steps revealed an internal struggle. I heard there are free meals here for struggling families, the woman said softly, almost as though she feared being turned away. Emily's heart ached at the sight of her, but she quickly replaced the feeling with a smile, gentle, reassuring, and welcoming. Yes, that's right. Please, come in and make yourself comfortable. Tonight, we have chicken soup and fresh bread. This encounter marked the beginning of a heartfelt initiative at Carter's Kitchen. Every Saturday evening, Emily would open her doors to anyone in need. With help from the suppliers Shaquille had once introduced her to, she ensured that these evenings were about more than just nourishment. They were about restoring dignity and fostering hope. Over time, these nights became a cherished tradition in the neighborhood. Lonely seniors, struggling families, and children who might not otherwise experience the comfort of a home-cooked meal found solace at Carter's Kitchen. Sophia, always eager to contribute, brought her own kind of magic to these evenings. With crayons in hand, she would sit in a corner creating colorful drawings that carried messages of hope and love. Each drawing was a token of the restaurant's spirit, a reminder that everyone who walked through the doors belonged. One evening, Sophia approached an elderly man sitting alone at a table. She handed him a drawing of a small house with glowing lights, a table set with steaming dishes at its center. Sir, this picture is for you, Sophia said, her voice filled with sincerity. So you'll always know there's a place for you to come back to. The man stared at the drawing for a long moment, his eyes brimming with tears. Finally, he smiled softly and placed a hand on Sophia's head. Thank you, sweetheart, he whispered. You've given me something I thought I'd lost, a reason to keep going. Moments like these defined Carter's Kitchen. The restaurant became a haven not just for delicious food, but for human connection and the quiet strength that kindness brings. Emily often thought of Shaquille's words, kindness is a circle. She could see it now, unfolding around her in ways she had never imagined. But the journey wasn't without its challenges. Running a small business came with its share of hardships, rising costs, slow days, and the pressure to stand out in a competitive market. There were moments when Emily wondered if she could truly sustain the dream she had worked so hard to build. But whenever doubt crept in, she reminded herself of the faces that filled her restaurant. The laughter of children, the gratitude of parents, the quiet contentment of seniors, all of it strengthened her resolve. One evening, during a free meal service, a young mother approached Emily. Her eyes glistened with tears as she said, "You have no idea how much this means to us. I once thought I wouldn't be able to provide for my child, but because of these meals, I've had the time and strength to find a better job." Hearing this, Emily felt a profound sense of fulfillment. She saw a reflection of her own journey in the woman before her, a reminder of how far she had come. She held the woman's hands firmly and said, "If you ever need more help, please let me know. Everyone deserves a chance to start over." As the weeks turned into months, Carter's Kitchen grew into a cornerstone of the community. Sophia continued to spread joy in her unique way, giving out her heartfelt drawings to anyone who needed a bit of extra hope. One day, she approached a woman sitting quietly by the window, lost in thought. The drawing she handed over depicted a large, sturdy tree, its branches stretching wide to shelter everyone beneath it. "My mom says everyone can be like this tree," Sophia said simply. "You can too." The woman stared at the picture, tears streaming down her cheeks. She nodded, pulling Sophia into a hug. "Thank you," she whispered. "This means more than you'll ever know." Emily often thought back to the day Shaquille had left, his words echoing in her mind. Kindness is a circle. It was a simple truth, but one with profound power. Every small act of compassion she offered was passed on, creating ripples that spread far beyond the walls of Carter's Kitchen. As the restaurant continued to thrive, Emily realized that the dream she had once thought impossible had transformed into something far greater. It wasn't just about fulfilling her own aspirations, it was about inspiring others to believe in themselves, to hold on to hope, and to pass on kindness whenever they could. One quiet evening, as the restaurant began to wind down, Emily sat beside Sophia, watching her daughter draw a new picture. This time, it was of her mother, standing by the stove, surrounded by smiling diners enjoying their meals. Mom, did I get it right? Sophia asked, her eyes brimming with curiosity and pride. This is your dream, isn't it? Emily looked at the drawing, her heart swelling with emotion. Yes, sweetheart, she said softly. This is my dream. But it's not just mine anymore. It belongs to you, to everyone in this neighborhood, and to all the people we've yet to meet. As night fell over the city, the lights of Carter's kitchen glowed warmly, a beacon of hope and humanity. Inside, Emily and Sophia continued their journey, proving that even the smallest acts of kindness could create a legacy of love and connection. In their story, the power of perseverance, compassion, and belief shone brightly, a reminder that a circle of kindness, once started, has no end.